Welcome to another episode of Action Corp. This is our first episode in quite a while, and we got a bunch of cool subjects to talk about today. Man, we haven't done this for a while, have we?
Out of practice.
Yeah, we're never going to be very good. This is
very conversational.
Yeah, well, we'll do our best. It's not necessarily have to be high quality production anyway. So,
Topic 1.
What are we going to talk about?
IE7 beta. That was just posted to Action Corp this week. It's beta 2. It's made. It's a public release, and so far I give it a. Now a couple other posters are liking it. The only reason I don't like it is because it gave Sean and I a major headache earlier tonight.
So you're running it right now?
I'm running it right now. Speed, everything that everybody said about it seems fine. Even the Outlook web access, I haven't had any problem with it, which is what somebody had mentioned earlier. It absolutely took control and scrambled any opportunity we had to FTP out. FTP out, yeah. I was trying to change some things on my modded Xbox tonight, and 2 PCs that had the IE7 beta on it wouldn't get out. Now, not only just the FTP in IE7, but FileZilla.
But you're using, you mean all your FTP?
All FTP possibilities.
Every application.
Although not investigated real thoroughly, neither PC would get to.
All right. Well, but it's a beta. It's a beta, right? It's not
yeah, but doesn't that seem weird that an internet browser would completely take over functionality?
It actually changed.
This is made by a company called Microsoft. What do you expect?
It actually changed the command line FTP though. You couldn't do like ls.
Are you kidding me?
Instead, you had to do like dir. You had to use the DOS commands for FTP. You couldn't do any of the like Linux equivalent.
Oh well, that's weird. But what about the web browsing part of it?
Web browsing, I haven't had any problem with. In fact, I've been using it for I guess 2 or 3 days. Speed's great. I really like the RSS detector.
What about the tabs? I mean, that's the thing it's been missing for like ever.
It is, and I guess I'm not talking about it because it's been around in other browsers before.
But I mean, do they do it good? They
do it just fine. One thing that I really like about it, I'll show you. If you got a second page up, then the little button here by the tab, the little thumbnail button.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Just gives you a live thumbnail, then you can just click on it.
That's kind of cool. I like that. That's
just a little feature. I mean, the basics of tab browsing have been around for a while, so it's nothing revolutionary, but it's kind of cool. That's about really all I got. I kind of like the layout. It's a little more simple up top as far as the tools. There's a back, forward, and then address bar, and then your other tabs underneath.
All right. Well, keep at it, I guess, and we'll see what happens. But is this going to be like is this like alpha or beta or
beta 2?
Beta 2.
Beta 2, which they're making public.
Okay. Well, cool.
What's going on with Mac?
Okay. Well, we know that Steve Jobs recently debuted the first Intel Macs ahead of schedule at the Macworld earlier this month, and then of course they released the new iMac, which is, they didn't change the name of it, but now it's just like the old iMac they had, but with Intel processor and logic board in it. Now, some of the cool things people have discovered since this has come out, first of all, there was a big worry for a long time there that Apple is going to be switching to BIOS to boot Macs, which would suck because BIOS is kind of old school, and a lot of the cool features that Macs have always had, like FireWire target disk mode, where you hold down T and it just acts like a FireWire drive, and like net booting when you can boot off a network drive and all that kind of stuff. They thought that was going to go away on these new Intel Macs because BIOS can't do anything like that. But what they did is they actually used Intel's boot architecture called EFI, I believe, and so they were able to keep all those cool features. And that's a big thing. But Windows XP, current versions of Windows XP cannot boot on EFI. They don't have support for that. There is support for EFI in Vista. And so there's a real possibility that's going to happen.
Well, and from what I'd read, Mac is not going to actively try to prevent that.
That's right. That's right. They're not. They actually said on multiple occasions, Phil Schiller has said on multiple occasions that they will not dissuade people from trying to install Windows on their Macs.
Well, why would they? You've already got the overpriced PC. Who cares what your operating system is?
The only real reason I can think of why it's bad for Apple is that you've got a bunch of Apple developers creating software, and then all of a sudden you can run Windows on this machine. Those Apple developers are going to go, I can write 2 programs, or I can just write Windows 1. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then you're also giving your your computer, whatever it is, a hell of a lot more functionality that way.
Yeah, I mean,
there's not 10 programs. I can run 3,000 programs. That's great.
No, but I'm saying that in
For Apple developers.
Apple doesn't want to lose their developers to become Windows people just because you can run Windows on a Mac.
Are Apple developers licensed?
Well, some of them do both. I mean, like lots of companies, like id, for example, id Software, who produces versions for Windows, Mac OS 10, and even Linux. They're multi-platform developers. So what if you told id Software, oh, by the way, they can run Windows on your Mac now, so why even bother making a Mac version? Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying that that's probably what Apple would think is that's not a good thing. What are we going to tell our developers? So, but I think at the same time, they look at it as an opportunity to say, hey, guess what? You can buy this Dell and just run Windows, or you can buy an Apple and run whatever the hell you want. Or both, but they're still going to push Apple's operating system. I think it's a non-issue there. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to talk about too is that an interesting thing that they discovered is that on the motherboards. Now I can't remember I think it was the iMac. A guy discovered that the Core Duo chip that's in the iMac is actually socketed, and so you can actually remove the chip and upgrade it, which is, I don't know, for people in the Mac, from the Windows world, that's probably not a big deal, but it's a big deal in the Mac world. You haven't had this kind of ability for a long time.
You're saying take the processor out of the Intel-based iMac.
Yeah, out of the Intel-based iMac, you can take the Core Duo chip. It's socketed in there. It just pops out, and you can replace it. And a guy in Japan said he did this. He took, I think it was a 1.8 gigahertz Core Duo, found a PC 2.0 gigahertz one, swapped them, and it booted, and it told him, even Mac OS 10 system profiler said he had a 2.0 gigahertz Mac. He hadn't any problems or anything.
You think that's reliable, or you think he's just playing games? And is it just one guy that's done it, or
so
is
far
it starting to catch on?
So only one guy so far that anybody's seen. Now, I'm sure someone else is going to try it now. But I don't even know enough about Intel chips since I've been so far out of the loop on the PC side. I mean, I didn't even know they came that way. I didn't even know they were socketed. I mean, can you even buy a Dell right now with a Core Duo chip in it or anything like that? I mean, is those chips even available in commodity PCs?
I haven't seen one.
I mean, I don't think they are. I mean, I think it's something that Intel is first giving to Apple, and then, but apparently in Japan, this guy bought an off-the-shelf chip to replace it, and it worked. Which means that's a good thing. Now, iMac is not user serviceable. Craig's iMac, the G5 he has, is user servable, the original one.
We're looking at it right now.
Yeah,
he's actually cutting the video.
So that one is user serviceable. I mean, you're not supposed to replace the soldered chip, but you can take the drive out and And then they made another version of the G5 iMac that they said is not user serviceable. So they kind of flip-flopped on there. Now the current Intel iMac is not user serviceable either, but you can get in there and apparently take the chip out now. Which until recently, that's not been something you could do. I mean, even you'd have to go back to like the G3 Tower days, I think, before you'd find a Mac that actually had a processor that was swappable. So it's a pretty big deal. I mean, I remember my G4 Cube had.
I forgot about that.
Oh man, there it is right there. I never should have sold that thing. Anyway, there were processor upgrade boards for that too.
All right, Sean's going to come in here and finish this debate. Well, yeah, I guess the debate's now finished about whether an Apple's going to have an Intel processor in it. That's from a long time ago. So I'm stepping out. Sean's stepping in.
I'll finish that up when I step in.
Yeah, finish it up.
What'll be yet to be seen is if Apple will finally decide to go ahead and make OS X available for regular x86. And I'm going to say on camera that I think they will, because I think that's how they're going to get back. I think that's how they're going to get back some of their developers, just like the point you brought up, that might be going somewhere else, is if you can make this widely available where anybody can buy this and it can directly compete with XP without having to have specified hardware or Apple branded hardware. I think that's how they'll get some of that market share back, and I think people will switch from XP because of the way OS X runs and works and looks and things like that.
That's a good point.
Even with Vista coming?
Yes.
No, I tell you what, that's a good argument, but the truth is, Apple's money comes from hardware sales, not from software sales. If they started giving OS X to Windows users, they would go out of business. I mean, they wouldn't be able to support themselves because they are like primarily hardware. They make all this great software, but the software is only there to sell the hardware.
And I think that that's exactly why they're going to end up switching, because I think that they're not going to be able to make the money that they used to be able to from their hardware. Because now,
oh my God, you're already saying that that's going to die out, huh? Intel Macs are dead already.
I've been brewing on this for a long time, so you know. But yeah, I just think they're going to end up going that way, because I think they're going to have to make up some of their market share that they're losing, because people don't want to go out and spend the money on that kind of hardware, and they're going to directly compete with well, we'll see. Vista and stuff
I think that Apple's plan is hook you on an iPod, sell you on an iMac, and I think that is starting to work, and I can see that trend continuing. Splinter Cell 4.
Talk about something else then.
Are we in the wrong order now?
Well, I believe we are. We will actually move on a little bit, I guess, and see what should we jump to. Xbox Media Center on the Xbox. We've been doing a little bit more stuff with it. Of course, it's been around for a long time. You've seen it on past AC episodes.
Yeah.
If you've actually looked at past.
Now, this is the Xbox Media Center, the third-party thing made by the. It's not the Microsoft thing.
Right. It has nothing to do. It's not affiliated with Microsoft at all. It actually does some of the Media Center stuff a little better.
Better than Media Center.
Than Xbox.
Oh, I think it does.
I didn't want to say it because I'm not a Media Center owner, except as far as the PC version goes. But
no, there are people who say the Xbox Media Center for the old Xbox is better than the functionality you get on the 360.
Well, and I can definitely say that.
Well,
that could be the case.
Come on.
No, that's what I hear.
Aside from the stuff
what?
Extender,
What features?
Well, it probably plays a lot more codecs than what you can do.
That's definitely true.
I mean, you could pop DivX discs in there or whatever.
Microsoft has said that extenders will not support DivX because they publicly said that DivX is a is used as a form of piracy primarily, and there is no commercial use for it. So therefore, why should they support it?
Well, that's like saying, don't shoot the messenger. I mean, it's like you're blaming the format for the way it's used. I hate when people do that. They blame, like, there's a lot of people I run to every day who say Flash sucks. They hate Macromedia Flash. They're like, Flash is dumb. I hate Flash. I wish Flash would die.
That's Adobe Flash.
Whatever, Adobe Flash now, whatever. But anyway, I mean, they say that Flash sucks, but that's only because they always see really crappy websites that use Flash. They don't really, they're blaming the use of it, not the medium. I mean, they're blaming the medium. I mean, they shouldn't blame the medium. I do some really awesome stuff in Flash, and I've seen great websites and games and all sorts of cool stuff in Flash. I hate when people do that, and it's the same thing. I mean, you can't blame DivX for the fact that it gets used as piracy. I mean, that's
I think it's an excuse for them not to have to develop anymore.
It's also MPEG-4 compliant. Did you know that? DivX is actually the same compliancy as MPEG-4, which is an open standard. So what's the big deal? It's just a slightly tweaked version of MPEG-4.
Well, there's that open standard word.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Doesn't like so.
That's right. They hate that, don't they?
Until they tweak the codec and put their own brand on it and sell it, then that's when they'll like it. So then it'll become part of
So anyway, get back to this now. You guys have got a new version of the Media Center?
Yeah, there's builds coming out all the time that they call a guy named Tech releases them on the web, CVS builds. So they're not official releases from the Xbox Media Center team, but he just takes the newest code that's up on the website, basically compiles it, puts it out in the regular channels and stuff to get a hold of. Some of the features that they've been integrating that work very, very well now are, of course, streaming things from the computer. From a PC that's serving out this data or serving out the video any way you want, being able to access like your iTunes library, that is now a built-in share of Xbox Media Center when you load it up. And you
Does it use that Bonjour technology where it just shows up automatically?
Yeah, same way that the TiVos do now.
That's awesome.
Where you can actually just load up your list and play it. You can have your playlists and things like that in there, and stream them out. It works great. I mean, it works wonderful, but they're doing things now like integrating one of the tunneling softwares, Xlink Kai, into Xbox Media Center. So if you have your games backed up to your Xbox, the games that support System Link, it will actually show them up. And if you have an Xlink account and any of your friends that are on your Xlink account list, they will actually show up and they can invite you. I mean, it's like a little mini version of Live. But it actually has notifications that pop up on the Xbox and start the game and things like that.
So you could be like watching a movie in Xbox Media Center and it'd say, Seth is playing Halo 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's sweet.
They even have scripts now. The scripting is really taken off in Media Center. It's just Python scripting, so anybody that knows how to write Python code, you can go ahead and do a lot of different things, even down to caller ID. You know, of course you have to run the host on a PC, but then when it gets the call and it comes in on the modem, it broadcasts that out to your Xbox, and it actually has a pop-up overlay, just like the PC, you know, media center program.
That's sweet.
And
you know, it's fun. The irony, you know, the irony here is that, you know, you probably got, I don't know how many people work on the Xbox Media Center. You know, maybe there's 10 or something like that, and they can come up with this crazy ass cool stuff. And you got Microsoft, who probably has 100 developers working on Xbox or the real Windows Media Center, and you're getting the same functionality, and it's free. That's awesome.
Exactly. Xbox 360 compatibility sucks.
Hey, they just released new Firefox.
It doesn't. New Firefox just now.
Live
breaking news.
This is well live. I hope
Pre-recorded.
Yeah, you got to turn this quick.
While we were talking.
All right, Xbox 360 backwards compatibility, not perfect. For some games at launch, there were more than 100 games backwards compatible,
Including Barbie Horse Adventure.
I'll get into that because it does suck, but there's a reason for it. But 2 weeks later, they released an update that added 6 or 7 Tom Clancy titles, the Splinter Cells, which everybody was freaking out about. No Splinter Cell backwards compatible at launch. So backwards compatibility, explaining the Barbie thing, because people were saying that was the biggest thing. How come I have Barbie Horse Adventures and I don't have Splinter Cell? Barbie Horse Adventure is programmed not dumbly, but let's say simplistically.
Dumbly?
Not dumbly, simplistically. It was...
Seth, you realize you're defending Barbie Horse Adventure.
Hang on. I understand. Let me finish and it'll make sense. Also things like Crash Bandicoot and Tag Team, which Crash was actually... I shouldn't be negative about Crash. He used to be cool. The license has gone down the toilet recently. These games were easily portable. In fact, they were. Generally, the cross-system games are the ones that are simpler. They have to be simpler. They don't have the specific graphic calls for the NVIDIA graphic calls for the Xbox. Things like Splinter Cell were developed on the Xbox and then watered down. So the ones that maybe say were developed on the PlayStation 2 and had to be kind of watered down to just work on the Xbox without much development, those just kind of worked. And honestly, the development team in Major Nelson Blogcast that I was listening to, they were saying that some of the games they just tested and they just automatically worked because there would be similar technologies in them. And one of the developers said, you know, maybe that, he said this wasn't specific, but maybe Halo 2 technology had a little bit of the same Barbie Horse Adventure number crunching in it, so it just worked. They didn't actively make sure Barbie Horse Adventure worked, it just did. So anyway, they released an update, Splinter Cell. It's not complete, it doesn't work. The problem is you can either play single player or you can play multiplayer. But if you try to update either one through the live update, which it tries to force you to do, then you kill the functionality of the other one. So we can play multiplayer, or I should say, there are 2 different versions of multiplayer. There are 2 engines on the Splinter Cell Chaos Theory disc: the Versus, and then the co-op, which is also the single player. If the old engine works, the new one can't, and vice versa. We can get Versus to work, but now the co-op version, which is on the new Chaos Theory engine, in order to play the new missions that Sean and I have been playing, I've been talking forever. I'm going to get tired. I can't download those maps because what I essentially do is kill the ability to play it. So by downloading it, I can't do it. There are rumors that backwards compatibility team is working on a new update for targeting around March. There's no specifics on whether or not Splinter Cell work is going to be in it, but I know that is a huge, huge issue that 360 owners are having to deal with now, is they can't play Chaos Theory, and that's an incredible game. And it sucks that we cannot play it.
Unacceptable. Not only is it unacceptable that games of that caliber are not fully backwards compatible, I don't even think they should use the words backwards compatible because I think of things like the way that the PlayStation has done backwards compatibility or the Game Boys have done backwards compatibility. If you're going to build that in, now everybody says there's issues with, because they switched to ATI and there's the patent issues, things like that with the graphics card of NVIDIA.
And they're emulating
They're
emulating it entirely in software. There's no hardware emulation done in it. They can't. They're having to run it. They're having to basically create a software version of a little Xbox and hope for the best.
Well, that's fine. You look at issues where you have the original Xbox is 64 meg RAM. You see what a 700 megahertz processor inside it. You compare those with the specs of what's in the 360, and then you start looking at things like the way that emulation is done on the PC and guys that are emulating a PS2 on a PC, and if you start looking at those exponentially in the power, there's no reason why they shouldn't have been able to done the emulation of the Xbox on the 360. It ends up being like it's lazy, it's weak, they're not listening to people, and they just didn't want to do it, so they released this kind of half-assed backwards compatibility list, and you can't do, why have a game on there if, you turn on the cloaking device as the spy in Splinter Cell, and on your screen it lights you up bright green, like they forgot to click that as the transparent color. It's the dumbest thing in the world. And every time they would release a fix, it would break other things and just make it unplayable. That was on top of Ubisoft not releasing the maps that we had wanted for 6 months.
7 months.
7 months, sorry. So we finally got those maps. Then we can't do it due to Microsoft's issues with backwards compatibility.
Don't you think most of the issues though are because the 360 was rushed to market and they didn't wait as long as?
I don't think the 360 was rushed to market, but I definitely think that backwards compatibility was a thing that they didn't listen early on in development, and they didn't care. So then when at E3 they went, oh yeah, it's not really that backwards compatible. I think.
But aren't there some people having software problems with some 360 games that aren't backwards compatible?
Well, Call of Duty 2, they just released a patch for this week. Call of Duty 2 was one where if you played through the campaign for a while, and it was weird. If you just continued through a spot when it prompted you to save, it'd move on and everything would be fine. But if you saved at a specific point, it completely erased your profile, all your save games. Now, I don't know who's more to blame, Call of Duty, Microsoft or Activision at that point, but Activision's the one that released the patch, not Microsoft.
And the same kind of thing happened with Dead or Alive 4. And Tecmo actually put actually put it up on their site. They didn't acknowledge directly that there was a problem, but they were saying to people, wait till the dash is completely booted up and you can see all the blades of the dash, then start your game, or it may erase your saves. But Craig brings up a good point because there were people that actually have hardware problems with the 360.
I had a hardware problem with mine.
Yeah.
Mine went back to Microsoft. The video would just stop. Now, Microsoft says there's a less than 6% failure rate. And they're saying that that's honestly a good one in comparison to what other console launches. I have no idea. This is my first console that's ever gone bad, though. So my experience is that, my Xbox conked out. But I don't know. I'm sure other people's PS2s conked out when they bought them, too. So.
Well, I think they should definitely keep working, promote a couple more guys to doing it. I think it's an issue that they should really address and could really bring in a couple more people to buy these incredibly expensive machines. Even though they do look very nice.
I feel bad bashing because I've got one and I love it. I love the fact that it's got a media center extender in it, which I use daily. I feel Cameo is one of the most beautiful games I've seen. Dead or Alive 4 is another one that just shows off that hardware incredibly. It is not an all bad situation. It's just that I think they hyped too much. There was too much promise and not enough delivery. If they had said, you know what, screw Xbox. If you want to buy 360, that's fine, but you're not going to play your old games. It would have been easier to take than, yeah, we'll be backwards compatibility. We'll be backwards compatible, and then Sean and I can't play. In the continuing Splinter Cell theme, Splinter Cell 4, which was scheduled to be released in March, during a press event, Ubisoft in France decided they were going to delay it. Not till April or May, till September. I think that's probably, although it's probably better than them just pushing it off a month and then pushing it off another month, then pushing it off another month. That is a really long delay. That's 6-7 months. And that sucks. The other thing they did to try to appease the fans was release a trailer, which is incredible. There were 2 different versions. There was a French and a U.S. version of the trailer. I like the French one better, honestly. The U.S. one works a little bit of actual video in real time, just actors playing some of the parts with it a little bit, and that's kind of, I don't really like that. But have you seen both of them? Have you seen the French and the American?
I've seen the French. I didn't get to see all the American. We were cut off due to sound setup.
Oh, that's right. Sound test blew that. But
yeah,
it looks great. It sounds like Michael Ironside is back on. The voice actor that played Lambert in the first and the third one is also in the trailer. Those games are always great. If they would work all the time, it'd be that much greater. That's really about it. They released screenshots of both the current gen and the next gen versions. Look, have you seen these? The current gen are more.
Get to the story part of it. That's what makes it so. It's going to be such a cool game.
Okay, all right. Okay, Sam is through the website, through the BewareSamFisher.com. They've kind of told this story where Sam's daughter was killed as she was walking home from a college party. Was killed by a drunk driver. This, in theory, switches Sam into this fit of depression, and then he goes onto this crime spree, which apparently was set up by the CIA to get him to go way undercover and infiltrate this terrorist organization. So the title of the game, Splinter Cell Double Agent, literally means you're playing as a double agent. You will be getting objectives from the terrorists, but then you'll also get counter missions from the NSA, who will be telling you, okay, all right, if you're going to be stealing this disc for the terrorists, then at the last minute, swap it for this disc. That's not an exact, I just pulled that out of my ass, but something like that. You'll have counter missions, and they said you'll have the choice to actually go through with either side, and that will affect the plot of the game and the path that Sam takes. I don't know how open-ended it's going to be. I mean, with Tom Clancy, part of the thrill of those games is the story so incredible. So the fact that we might be able to alter the story to a degree probably isn't really that attractive to me. I'd rather be told the story for the most part, but if there's little changes here and there, that's kind of cool.
One of the things we were looking really forward to is being able to compare the version on the Xbox and the version on the 360 and see, kind of the apples to apples. Well, it's not really apples to apples, but kind of see exactly where the 360 excels as far as doing the different graphics effects, things like that. Seth kind of brought up an interesting conspiracy theory the other day. We were discussing this and what could possibly cause them to push it back that far. And one of his ideas was, what if Sony kind of snuck in there and said, hey, why don't you wait until we have the PS3 ready and you can actually release that as a launch title for the PS3. And money does change hands. There's nothing wrong with that, I guess, in business as an incentive to wait and kind of get that stuff ready. So we're kind of wondering if they're maybe sitting on it. And they can maybe get it out there right now, but they're not due to some big change that's going to be coming out. I for one, think that with the track record Ubisoft has been having here with the updates for Splinter Cell and the problems they've been having, I think they're just getting so sloppy that they have to rethink what they did here. They found a major bug, maybe something that was going to allow people to exploit the 360.
Well, yeah, Splinter Cell had one of the original hackable exploits in it for the original Xbox.
Exactly. They don't want a repeat of that kind of stuff and getting people on there. So you never know. You never know. We'll just have to wait and see. It just sucks we're going to have to wait so long to get it in there. But we'll let you know as soon as we get our hands on it, and hopefully there won't be any setbacks from now to then. So,
guys, thanks for watching actioncorp. I know it's been a long time. I hope this is as painless for you as it was for us.
It was painful.
It was painful.
Yes, very.
But we'll get back on the horse and hopefully get some shows put together smooth. You'll like them. Go to actioncorp.net. Get into the forums. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want us to talk about, what you don't want us to talk about. Till next time, we'll see you. It's like those clacker balls.
Oh, that's going to help. Oh my god, he just dropped it.
What was that?
It's his wide-angle lens. He just fucking dropped it on the floor.
It's probably alright.
That's probably going to help, having wide angle.